So jumping right into it this week, we got a little story about our movie Lord and Savior James Cameron. And apparently he had to threaten to fire the writers of the Avatar sequels. The story goes as, in a recent episode of Maureen Williamson podcast, James Cameron talked about the process that he went through to craft the stories for the upcoming Avatar sequels. And while you might just assume Cameron locked himself in a room and pounded out scripts for the sequels based on ideas he already had in his head, that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, the process was much more detailed and precise. You know how people joke about Marvel Studios films have a formula? Well, you couldn't make a better case that James Cameron hired a bunch of people to crack the code for Avatar. When I sat down to write the sequels, I knew there were going to be 3 at the time, and eventually it turned into 4. I put together a group of writers and said, I don't want to hear anybody's new ideas or anyone's pitches until we have spent some time figuring out what worked on the first film, what connected and why it worked, explained Cameron. They kept wanting to talk about new stories. I said, we aren't doing that yet. Eventually, I had to threaten to fire them all because they were doing what writers do, which is try to create new stories. I said, we need to understand what the connection was and protect it. Protect that ember and that flame. The analysis of the first film went incredibly deep. Cameron and his team took the time to analyze multiple levels of the film and figure out what worked and what needed to continue on in the sequels. On the first level, they looked at the plot. The second level provided analysis of the spiritualism and the themes of capitalism, imperialism, and colonialism, human rights abuses, and nature deficit disorder. Then the third, territory level? Hereditary level? Oh, okay, yeah. Hereditary level. I can't talk this evening. Went even deeper into a dreamlike realm. I didn't have any isms to it. It didn't have any isms to it. It was a dreamlike sense of yearning to be there, to be in that space, to be in a place that is safe and where you wanted to be, he explained. Whether that was flying, that sense of freedom and exhilaration, or whether it was the forest where you can smell the earth, it was a sensory thing that communicated on such a deep level that was the spirituality of the first film. Even after all this deep thinking and brainstorming, even after figuring out all the thinking and brainstormings, even figuring out the stories wasn't simple. Cameron said, we created and rejected many storylines for the second and third film because they didn't take us to a transportive dreaming with your eyes wide open feeling. I like this. I like what he's saying here. I mean, he said a lot of stuff, but what I really read was, I'm not fucking around with these things. I'm not trying to just crank out a sequel to the highest grossing film of all time because we can make money. And that's good. He has always been a director who's always said, if the story's not there, I'm not going to make a sequel. And I've always really appreciated that about him. People could say what they will about him. They could say what they want about Avatar, but it sounds like he's not just trying to rush this thing, or he didn't try and just rush this thing. And the fact that he had to tell them, because upon initially reading this, the headline, I was like, he's going to fire the writers? And then, you read on, and it said, he was going to fire them because they were trying to have original stories. Like, oh, shit, they're just going to have rehashes of the same shit? Oh, no. But no, that's not what it was at all. He was saying we need to remember that first film and what connected with so many people. And I thought that was a great thing. I think that is awesome that he's trying to not deviate too far. Yeah, it sounds like they're going to tell some new, fresh stories, but I think it was good that he was saying we need to get back in line. We need to remember that film and what made it great and what people really connected with, and take those aspects of it and put it into the next films as well. I'm pretty sure the guy probably had the basic idea of what he wanted these sequels to be in his head, and he probably put it out there and said, here's some story beats, some basic things we're going to do. Now we need to craft stories and incorporate these things. But I have heard he's a force to be reckoned with when he gets to work in those. Some people have said he's just a raging asshole, but at the same time, those same people will say, hey, he's kind of a terror to work with, but he's such a genius and he makes such great products that it's worth it. Because while he's a terror to work with at work, after the film's done, he's a great guy. And I've also heard that in his older age, he has kind of laxed a little bit. But he is the type of guy who he has a vision and he says, this is the vision and we're going to do it. And I really appreciate that about him. I really think that that's why he really has never had a flop. And people can point to Piranha 2 all they want. That wasn't his film. He got fired after like a couple of days of shooting there. But beyond that, he's never had a universally bad movie, a movie that's universally seen as a bad movie. He's had some that did better than others, but pretty much everything he puts his hands on ends up being critically and commercially viable and very popular. Obviously, 2 of his movies are in the top 10. I think number 1, it was Avatar, and number 3 now, I think, is Titanic. I think it's still number 3. It's on up there. Or in the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. You don't become the highest grossing film of all time unless there's something going on there. And it's not by luck. I mean, I'm not saying that necessarily means it's a good movie if you're the highest grossing film of all time or in that top 10, but there's something about it that people connected with. And I think it's good that he's not leaving that behind. He's trying to remember that and say we need to stay focused on what people really connected with, because that's what you want when you go see a sequel. You want something new. You want fresh, you want to see more, but you want to see more of what you already loved, but maybe expanded upon. And that's what I take from this. I don't take that he's saying, no, we're going to do the same movie over and over. I take that we're going to do new, fresh themes, but we're going to keep that core. And I really appreciate that, him saying that. That makes me feel a bit better about these sequels. Because while I'm a huge James Cameron fan, and I really did and do enjoy Avatar, I know some people, I don't know why I just called it Avatar, but I know how some people kind of hate on Avatar. I think a lot of that is because it is so popular. But even though you can hate on Avatar all you want, I still enjoy it. And I was a bit skeptical. 1 sequel, even 2 sequels, I would have been like, okay, yeah, I see that. But 4, we're getting 4. There's going to be an Avatar 5 at some point in my lifetime. That just, I don't know. That seems like, what are you going to, I mean, it's a vast universe out there to play in, but I'm just like, what stories, do you have 4 more stories that big to tell? I mean, I guess so. He said time and time again since early in his career, I'm never going to tell a sequel unless I have an idea that I think is a good idea that needs to be told. So I guess the guy's got 4 other basic ideas that have now been expanded upon with the writing team. So, hey, there you go. I mean, sometimes you have to break people out of their mold. I get what he's saying about writers wanting to do what writers do, which is write stories. So he had to reel them in and at some point tell them, look, if you're not going to do what I'm asking you to do, it's just like any other business. If you're not going to do the job I'm asking you to do, then we're going to have to part ways. So it sounds like it works. I guess he eventually was happy with it. So I guess we'll find out. The first one comes out December 16th, 2022. So about a year and a half from now. Which if last year was any indication, it'll just fly by, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. If anything, that selfish side of me is hoping that at least the first sequel is a huge success and it's just a really great movie to just shut up all the naysayers, because they continuously go on and on talking shit about Avatar. But I mean, come on, it's the king, man. It's the king, baby. You can't talk too much about it. I mean, you can talk all you want, but it doesn't change the fact that Avatar is still the king. But I don't know. Are you guys excited for Avatar? Or Avatar 2, 3, and 4, and 5? I am, I guess. I'm excited about the second one, and then I'll take it from there, because they're making all of them back to back to back. So the second one apparently is done filming, and the third one is about to be done filming. So we're getting these movies at some point in time. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what more stories Pandora holds for us.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Jarcast Movie Podcast. If you like this and want more, then check out the Jacob Anders Review YouTube channel, where you can also find movie reviews every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can also listen to the entire podcast on all major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google, and iTunes. So if you prefer audio, whichever one is your preferred, check it out there. Once again, I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay sexy, YouTube.